Hello, everyone. This is another class of U.S. History 1. Today, we're going to be looking at the 15th century Native American societies. We're going to look at Native American societies before Columbus came. So, we're looking at the 15th century Native American societies. We won't get a chance to talk about some of the great empires to the south of modern day United States, but we will be talking about some of the various cultures, Native American cultures that existed throughout the U.S. because this is what we're going to be focusing on, okay? So without further ado, in the interest of time, we're just going to get started. And we're first going to begin with a conversation on geography. It's important for us to note that geography played a very significant role in how these societies function. Now, why do we say that? Well, the reality is that often we may eat what's commonly available to all of us in a particular location. For instance, if you go to Baltimore, they at their ports they have a very rich selection of various seafoods at the docks. I can recall at one time where I got this huge tiger shrimp. Anyway, uh, we see these same trends with Native American tribes, Native American cultures and societies. For example, when we look in California during this time period, we look at the southern desert Pomo people. They hunted waterfowl. So a lot of their diet, they ate a lot of like kind of like birds. Okay, but if we go to the north, as we know, the southern part of California is not as green as the northern part, so or the mid part of California. But generally, we're talking about the northern part. So the northern forest Yurok and the Hoopa people, they search for acorns and they fished in mountain streams for food. So their diet largely consisted of and it was consisted of foods that you will find within the forest as well as foods that you will find like fish and things like that in the streams and things like that. And this is because their diet was largely influenced by their environment, as many people's diet is influenced by their environment today. We want to move quickly though, and not only are we talking about food, but we're also talking about transportation. You see, there's a large canoe. This is the Yurok people who lived in the deserts. I mean, in the mountains, who traveled up and down the streams and things such as that. We see this example of one of their canoes. Okay, so even their travel was influenced by the areas where they live. Now, some very interesting cultural patterns that we should probably take note of. Contrary to European beliefs, the Native American societies were intricately organized, meaning that these were complex societies. They weren't just a bunch of people who didn't know anything. They had great amounts of knowledge, and we're going to explore that some more. They had complex belief systems that were slightly different, but for the most part had many of the same fundamental components. The interesting thing is that a lot of these fundamental components that I'm referring to, you can find these same components throughout the Native American societies in the Caribbean, as well as societies throughout Africa and the Middle East, or around the world at this time. Okay, they even had trading networks. Now, why is this interesting? Because usually we hear that Europeans during this time refer to them as being an uncivilized group of people, as being a group of people who are close to the savages or were non-human. Well, these elaborate trade networks span the entire continent. Different groups could trade without ever coming in contact with one another. So that's a big smack in the face to those who say that these people were not capable of creating or running a civilization. So this is something that you guys should actually use in the upcoming assignments, okay? Because that's very important to know. We need to know that this was a complex society. Just wanted to introduce a quote related to our topic, And it gives you an idea of how some of these groups view their environment. This is a quote from a Wintu woman. Okay, she said, "When we dig roots, we make little holes. When we build houses, we make little holes. We shake down acorns and pine nuts. We don't chop down trees. We only use dead wood for fire. But the white people plow up the ground. They pull down the trees, and the tree says, 'Don't, I am sore. Don't hurt me.'" That is a quote from a Wintu woman. What does this quote indicate to you? What does it tell you about Native American society? What does it tell you that they value? How does it tell you, inform you about how they felt about the European presence in America? And how does this indicate the environmental impact of colonization? These are some things that I want you guys to think about before as we move on. Finally, we still want to talk about these cultural patterns. And I think one of the most extraordinary examples is the social organizations. The elders were cherished and obeyed. Family ties were maintained, and above anything else, to ensure the survival of the traditions and the customs of the tribe. You see, honoring your ancestors was very important. Again, this is a feature that the Native Americans shared with people who lived in West Africa, who lived in the Caribbean and other parts of the Americas. There was a deep respect for those who came before. Now, another interesting thing was gender roles. They were not the same from Native American society to the next Native American society. In fact, they were quite different. In some cases, the societies gave priority to the mother and her family, meaning that, let's say, if that were to apply today, right now, we live in a very patriarchal society. So if someone gets married, the woman takes on a husband's name. Well, let's say we valued or we put priority on the mother's family more than the father's. That means that the father would take the last name of the mother. For example, other societies gave priority to the father and his family line. There were some Native American societies that gave the women the right to choose whether or not her child would live. There were other, and if the father decided to do that, he would not have that privilege. This is very interesting. It indicates various things regarding the status of men and women in these societies, and this is probably one of the reasons that the Europeans felt that these people were so primitive and backwards, because in these societies, actually, right? And if you remember from your Columbus readings, one of the things that they observed was that the women had an astonishing amount of freedom in these societies. So I'm going to leave you with that. We're going to continue on. Don't forget to include all of this information in your organizer. This will come up later on, and I will see you then.